Insiders at the California Republican Party are gathering in a few weeks to elect a new chair and board members. But that's like selecting the new captain of the Titanic. They have to deal with their sinking ship first. Coming up, I'll give you a 7-point plan on how the California Republican Party can fix its most pressing problems. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state representative representing Assembly District 75 in the legislature. I am not happy with the California Republican Party, and neither should you be happy with them. You should be pretty damn pissed, to be frank. The California Republican Party has been in a steady decline for the last 20 years. And I know a lot of people say, well, it's because of all sorts of external factors. And there's some argument to be made that there are external forces that are impacting the party. But the biggest problem with the party is the party itself. The insiders, the political operatives, they have presided over years and years of dysfunction and decay, of ineffectiveness on a good day, and frankly, infighting and incompetence on a regular day. We cannot allow the California Republican Party to continue on its current course. If we want change, if we want to see better results in elections in California, we have to first start by cleaning out the rot and the problems at the California Republican Party. I'm a businessman. And I've actually taken over companies that are financially distressed. And when I go and look at a financially distressed company, and I liken the California Republican Party to a financially distressed company, a company that's bankrupt, it's pissed off its employees and its customers and its shareholders, it's running massive levels of debt, it's lost customers, but there's still value in that company if it can get its act together. So what happens in that case? You don't just shut down the company. You go through what we call bankruptcy reorganization. You go to a judge, you present your debt, your problems, and then you come up with a plan of recovery, a reorganization plan, a bold plan with massive changes so that you come out of that reorganization period with a sustainable balance sheet and, more importantly, a plan to actually become a profitable company again. Otherwise, the court won't approve the bankruptcy plan. If a court looks at a bankruptcy plan and says, okay, you're asking us to wipe away debt, give you time with your creditors, reorganize who owns the company, but you haven't given us a plan yet to show that it's not going to happen again, that you're not going to, come back here in 6 months, 6 years, from now with more debt, the court is obliged not to allow reorganization, but to order liquidation and termination. I believe the Republican Party of California is like a company that still does have a potential future. I think that there's huge opportunity for Republicans in California, mainly because Democrats have done such a bad job running the state. But nonetheless, the California Republican Party itself is dysfunctional. It is broken. It is incompetent. It's beset with infighting. It's got a bad culture. And yes, there are elements of corruption that need to be addressed. So let me go through a 7-point reorganization plan that I'm releasing. And I am now, as an elected official, able to appoint delegates to the state convention. And these delegates, along with all the other delegates across the state, now need to decide what to do to fix the party, in addition to electing new leaders. So the way the convention works, the state party works, is that there's about 1,500 delegates that are sent to the Republican Party at each convention. And there's typically 2 conventions a year. So a total of 4 conventions every election cycle. 2 in the off year, 2 in the on year. And the board of directors conducts business with the staff throughout the remainder of the period of time of the year. The 1,500 delegates at these conventions are the ones that elect the board, including the chair of the party. So these conventions are very important. These conventions also offer delegates an opportunity to weigh in on things like bylaws and other sweeping proposals that the delegates may want to impose on the party itself. So this is like a shareholders meeting is the best way I can describe it. Who gets to be a shareholder? Where do those 1,500 people come from? Well, elected officials like myself are given an allocation of individuals that we get to appoint. I think I get like 10 people that I get to appoint. On top of that, county Republican parties in each of the counties in the state of California are also allocated delegates to the convention. And there's a variety of other people who can appoint, but basically it's elected officials and local parties that determine the supermajority of delegates to the convention. The convention is in a matter of weeks, March 2025. There are already 2 candidates running for chair. Corinne Rankin, who's the first vice chair right now of the party, and former state senator Mike Moreau. Both are good people. However, I am not impressed by either one of them as it relates to their candidacy, because what they're saying is, make me chair, I'll make things better. I've heard that before. I'm not interested in promises. I'm not interested in personality. I'm interested in performance. I want to see a plan. I want to see a sober understanding of the problems, not rosy scenario, but a sober, blunt assessment of the problems at the party. So if I were putting together a plan for the party, there would be 7 core non-negotiable reforms that I would insist we implement. And there could be additional ideas. I'm not saying that I have the only ideas, but I'm offering you what I call the Reform CAGOP. Reform CAGOP plan, a 7-point plan to reform the California Republican Party. And it is listed, this plan, on our website at reformcalifornia.org. That's reformcalifornia.org. Here's our little logo, Reform CAGOP. This is the plan. We plan to go to convention, Reform California, which is a statewide grassroots movement that I chair. We're going to the convention in March with this plan. And we're offering it today so that people have time to review it and respond to it and add to it and dialogue about it. But we're going to convention in March. I'm instructing my delegates to fight for this, and I hope that other elected officials join me in considering these and other important reforms before they just simply blindly give their allegiance to a candidate for chair. So what are the major reforms? Here are the 7, zooming in on them. First, we cannot be a political party in California under the current broken election system that California Democrats have imposed on us. Otherwise, we won't win ballot measure fights or candidate races. As long as we have outdated voter rolls, as long as we don't have voter ID, as long as there's ballot harvesting, as long as there are inappropriate and inadequate signature reviews and verification on identity and citizenship, we do not have free and fair elections in California. That's why the Republican Party of California must make its top priority, number 1, the qualification and passage of the California Voter ID Initiative that I've authored. And this voter ID initiative is not rocket science. I've taken the ideas from the best and the brightest around the country and put it into a state constitutional amendment that provides for fair, open, accurate, and integrity-based elections. The Republican Party of California, by making this their number 1 priority, not only will fix the election problems that we're having, but also restore public trust and confidence in elections. A lot of conservative Republicans don't vote anymore because they think their vote doesn't matter. You cannot be a Republican Party in California unless you deal with the corrosive condition of our election system. It's like a cancer on democracy. We have to fix it if we're going to have hope to take back our state. Also, as you collect 1 million signatures, Republican Party, you're going to be building up volunteers, donors, and supporters who agree with you that the voter ID initiative is important to put on the ballot. Building relationships, that's how you build a party. So that's your first reform. Commit to qualifying an initiative in the state on voter ID. Second, commit to opposing all taxes and bonds. The reason why this is an important reform is that the Republican Party of California has sold its soul to the devil, or more accurately, to the lobbyists and special interests in the Sacramento swamp. In this year alone, the party went neutral in the March primary on a boondoggle bond, Prop 2 in the March primary, where a bunch of developers and homeless advocates who wanted your taxpayer money basically convinced the Republican Party to go neutral on a really bad bond, a bond that Newsom was supporting that would put homeless shelters and drug dens in neighborhoods around our state without any sort of local authority to push back, without any sort of protections for the quality of our neighborhoods. And it was all a waste of money given to rich developers who do what? They give campaign contributions to Democrat politicians. And the Republican Party of California, went along with this corrupt bargain. Yep. They decided to go neutral, which meant they winked and nodded in the favor of the bond. Prop 2 only passed by a slim margin. Had the party gone neutral or had gone opposed to the bond, we would have defeated Prop 2 and rendered a stunning defeat to Gavin Newsom in the March primary. In Prop 2 in the November election, there was also a Prop 2 in November, the party endorsed a boondoggle bond that also included a project labor agreement requirement provision that helps Democrats fund their political campaigns through compulsory union dues. So here's the party endorsing Prop 2 in the November election, a boondoggle bond that we can't afford, that's against fiscal responsibility criteria, and it actually helps Democrat politicians win elections. That's like the pig giving the knife to the butcher. So I believe that the party ought to have an automatic no position on all tax increases and bonds. Show that we stand on principle. No more buying our endorsement, Sacramento Swamp. We're not interested in selling our soul to the devil. Third, we have to improve candidate recruitment and support. There were countless races where the Republican Party forfeited seats because it didn't even bother to recruit and file a quality candidate, or any candidate for that matter, for the seat. I don't believe in giving Democrats a free pass. I think we should have at least one candidate in each of our 120 state legislative races and one candidate in each of our 52 congressional races. Now, when you look at that, that is, 120 plus 52, it's 177 races. Are you telling me that we can't find 177 quality Republican candidates across the state to run for legislative seats at the federal and state level? I think we can. But too many Republicans have no choice when they look at those races because no candidate was filed by the party. Plus, we ought to give candidates a basic campaign in a box suite of services to help them run good campaigns that are compliant with state law. Fourth, provide all Republican voters in the state with a detailed voter guide. This is what we do at Reform California. We call it the Plain English Voter Guide, and we've made it quite popular. Basically, the reason why it's popular, our voter guide, is because the Republican Party has surrendered its obligation, has given up its job, has been negligent in its duty, derelict in its duty, by not giving Republican voters a voter guide on what do the ballot measures do and who are the Republican candidates running for school board, city council, and judge. The other races usually have a party label on them, but not those local races with very little information. Shame on the Republican Party for not giving Republicans in the state a voter guide that they can rely on to vote. People who don't know what's on the ballot tend to not vote. So if you want to boost turnout of Republicans, give them a detailed voter guide. Fifth, the Republican Party has been grifting. It has been collecting money, saying it's doing things, and I'm not seeing the results. Maybe they're doing something, but no, actually, probably not. They pretend to do ballot harvesting. They pretend to do canvassing. They pretend to do voter guides. They pretend to do candidate support, when in fact, all they're doing is paying commission and retainer checks to fat cat consultants. I've seen it. I've experienced it, and it needs to stop. And the donors know that they're getting scammed. That's why the Republican Party has the lowest amount of money it's ever raised in any election cycle. We need to provide transparency on finances. I'm proposing that the Republican Party adopt a transparent budget for all overhead expenses and mandate that they are not allowed to spend more than 15% of direct voter contact money on overhead. Plus, if they do the solicitation, they need to disclose whether the money goes to overhead or to the direct voter contact program that's being described in the solicitation. Sixth, we need to empower and rebuild our grassroots support base. Small dollar donors and volunteers are the heart of the party. But party operatives and fat cat consultants, they disparage our volunteers and small dollar donors. They basically write them off as irrelevant, as a bunch of wingnuts, pat them on the head and say, "Oh, you're so wonderful," and then basically roll their eyes. You cannot be a functioning political party by mistreating your grassroots supporters. And so I'm proposing that the party have metrics on small dollar donors as well as volunteer recruitment throughout the state. That the volunteers should be deployed into the target seats, which means that we may be doing weekend road trips. Volunteers are willing to do that. They want to go where the fight is most effective. And finally, I believe we need to reform the board composition of the party so that 2 of the executive committee board members are what we call grassroots representatives. And they are voted on like a shareholder meeting for a company, where the donors and anyone who put in a volunteer shift in the last 12 months is eligible to cast a ballot, one vote, for one of those 2 representatives, giving the grassroots a voice directly on the board of directors. Seventh, the dirty little secret, the California Republican Party engages in ballot harvesting. And this is how the consultants, the paid consultants, the special interests control party decisions. They get politicians to appoint a bunch of yes men. And then they go harvest the ballots of those yes men saying, "Oh, don't hang out with the riffraff. Just give us your ballot and we'll go vote it at convention." Ballot harvesting or proxy voting must end at the California Republican Party. I'm proposing that we shift to a system of delegates and alternates, and that a delegate or their alternate must physically be present and vote in person. If someone doesn't give enough of a concern about a matter to even show up to the meeting, well, then they should be treated as an abstention vote. But we shouldn't be able to harvest ballots of people who don't give a damn. Again, 1,500 state party delegates will gather in March, and they will vote on the leadership positions for the party. But if they don't adopt a plan like this of substantial reform, I don't see the California Republican Party fixing the problems. I don't see them being helpful in the fight to take back our state from the far left. We need to get this done. We deserve a functioning, principled-based Republican Party to give us a voice. We don't have that currently. If the Republican Party of California refuses to change, then we're out. We're going to go and take back this state without them. We're going to navigate around them. I'm going to instruct grassroots supporters and donors and candidates to basically assume that the party will be no help. If not, they might actually be a hurt. Just navigate around them. And we'll go out and we'll create our movement without them. That's what President Trump has done successfully. And we can do the same in California. But I do believe that there are sincere, genuine Republican delegates, Republican elected officials who understand we have problems and they want to see fixes. So I'm offering these 7 ideas as just the starting point of the conversation. Let's see what we can do to improve our Republican Party of California. We deserve it. We demand it. And if you're interested in helping me advance this cause, can't do it without your help. Go to our website, reformcalifornia.org, and do 3 things. Number 1, chip in a contribution. We are waging a financial battle, a campaign to recruit candidates, to change the Republican Party, to actually mobilize the grassroots in California. We cannot do that without your help. Chip in a contribution of any amount. Second, sign up to receive updates and sign up as a volunteer. You can sign up to the bottom of the website, first name, last name, email, phone, and zip code. Finally, share this article at reformcalifornia.org so that people know that there are problems at the Republican Party of California, but there is a plan to fix it. I don't know who will emerge as the chair of the party. Frankly, without a plan, it doesn't really matter. It's also possible that other candidates for chair will emerge if they know that there is a true plan and a movement backing that plan to fix the problems of the party. Let's see where this conversation goes. But help us launch the conversation by going to reformcalifornia.org and joining the fight. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, a Republican, chairman of Reform California, and a member of the California State Legislature. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.